All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Since we only have 45 minutes and there tends to be a lot of questions at the end of this presentation, I want to go ahead and get as much of this done now way as possible. That way I can open up to get y'all's feedback in the middle of this. Now, if you wanted to come to the Composer Tools and Frameworks for Drupal presentation, well, this isn't it. This is totally a different presentation. It just happened to be named the same thing. Oh, I didn't get anybody to go, okay, well, no, you're in the right spot. Don't worry about it. This happens to also be a presentation that was done at DrupalCon. And I'll go into that a little bit, but it's got my own twist. I'm a different speaker. It's a little bit different slide. But just to let you know, there is a little bit of repeat in case you didn't get to DrupalCon. Why should you use Composer? That's a question you're probably going to ask me at the end of this presentation. So I thought I'd head you off and let you know. Well, right now you're going through dependency management hell, whether you know it or not. You're manually including class files at runtime. And you have a large unmanageable repository. Did y'all all know that? Okay. What Composer helps you do, it lets you let something else manage the dependencies. It does autoloading for you so you can lazy include classes. And your repository remains clean and lean. Composer Tools and Frameworks for Drupal. We have Composer, plus Drupal, and Drush, and we got a win. Now, if you were expecting to see this handsome devil, Greg Anderson, or my little sidekick, Doug, they're not here today. And it's unfortunate they couldn't make it. But instead, I'll be filling in for them. My name's Alan Chappelle. I go by the alias General Redneck online. Obvious, right? And I'm the Senior Solutions Architect at ProMetSource. We do a lot of work with Composer. We're trying to spur that initiative to use it as an alternative dependency manager or distribution manager in lieu of Drush Make. Because everything else uses Composer. Drupal is PHP. Why doesn't it use PHP tools? A little bit of background about myself. I've been in the Drupal frame space for roughly 5 or 6 years. Started with a company called allplayers.com. I've been with ProMetSource for, it's 2.5 years now. I'm really heavy into PHP and programming patterns. I've been doing PHP since about 2003. Zen framework, Yi, a lot of different frameworks actually that I have some experience in. So really heavy back-end developer. Solutions architect, I build technical requirements for projects and lead a development team. So what is Composer? This is one of the things we're going to go over today. Installing Drupal 7 with Composer, that's something else we'll do today. And we'll go over 2 different methodologies. There's, when you first start doing something, you get a couple of people with ideas, so you usually have a divergent path. I'll go over 2 of those paths today, a way you can do it. Composer vendor plus a custom installer or Drupal Tangler. And we'll talk a little bit about managing your project. So part 1, what is Composer? Well, Composer, amazingly, is an installer. You usually probably use Drush download to get your modules, right? Well, you can do a very similar thing with Composer. It's also a dependency manager. Have you ever wanted to download the Views module, but then realized that you forgot to download CTools? Well, you can do that with Drush Download. I get that, right? But if you use Drush Make, you actually have to specify both of them. It's an ongoing not problem, something that's getting fixed in Drush Make, but that is something to think about. We can manage dependencies. Not only that, if you have one module that says, I can't use Views 3 yet, so I only want the version 2, and another module says I can use any version of Views, Composer is smart enough to say, okay, well, let's download version 2 of Views, because that's the common dependency. It's also an autoloader. Believe it or not, a lot of your libraries out there do not get autoloaded without the help of specific modules, like let's say the libraries API is one of them. But there's also other libraries that are not even a part of, that don't even have like an equivalent Drupal module that you probably want to load into your projects. Guzzle is one of those. There's Simple SAML. I don't know if any of y'all dealt with that before. There's just a whole bunch of other projects. They're just PHP projects that don't necessarily need a Drupal module, but we want to auto-load them into our projects anyway. It'll let us do that. It's PHP. So, why use Composer? Well, it's the PHP standard. I don't have any way to elaborate on that. It's easy for developers, especially for those who have general PHP knowledge. I mean, if you use Composer, you can work anywhere. You don't necessarily have to be a Drupal developer. It takes care of your dependency resolution, code updates, so it'll automatically go out there and find your updates. Much like you say Drush update, it'll do similar. And it'll also do the autoloading classes. And Composer is starting to, well, it is pretty much everywhere. Guess what's using Composer? Drupal 8, Drush, Symfony. There's too many projects out there to kind of list here. You might be able to actually go find them all. A little place called Packagist.org. But guess who's not using it so far? Drupal 7. It's a PHP project just like anything else. Well, why not? Can we do this? You betcha. We'll get this fixed right up. Now, here's kind of the parts that you need to know about when you're working with Composer. You have Composer, which is the piece of software. You have Packagist, which is your package repository. And by default, this is automatically queried for anything. Y'all all used apt-get or yum before, right? You know what Package Manager is. You know that it's really cool to use. Who wants to install all of their Linux stuff compiling code? I don't see any hands up, so you're familiar with the Package Manager. Now, you do have two little pieces here. Composer.json. Think of your make file. This is basically your make file for Composer. And then you have Autoload.php, which makes sure that every class that you define is automatically loaded for you. That way you don't have to. That way you don't have to. You don't have to go in there and say, "Oh, include this file. Oh, remember to include this file. I gotta use that package. I gotta require that one as well." Lastly, you can use a custom installer to stick stuff where you want it. Let's say Drupal cores cites all modules contrib folder, for example. So we do have a little special bit to throw in here for Drupal specific projects, and that we've created an entire Packagist, a package management system, for Drupal modules. So this system, unlike Packagist.org, how many of y'all actually use Packagist.org? Okay, so you know you have to go in there if you have yourself a project that you want to set up as a package. You go in there and you say, all right, this is what I want to call my package, and this is the Git repository it goes to, and you point to that. And it automatically picks up your versions via tags. So if you tag something version 0.01, it automatically knows that you have that version. Packages, the Drupal composer.org is a little bit different. It cuts out that step of having to go and register your package if you have your module up on Drupal.org. So basically it goes through and it scans through all the RSS feeds and it says, okay, has there been any new releases lately? Let me include that into my packages, into my package library. It does this roughly every 15 minutes. So, I mean, it's actually fairly performant because, well, high water, if y'all know what that means. There's another little thing that you'll have to know. There's a little difference on versioning whenever you're using Composer. So you're used to seeing 7.x-1.5 as a version number. If you're using Composer, Composer is very strict on using semantic versioning. To deal with this, what we've done is literally taken the Drupal version and made it the major version. Okay, so Drupal 6 projects are 6 dot something, Drupal 7 7 dot something. Then we take the module version, which you're used to, and make it the minor version. So this is a major version of the module becomes the new minor version in your semantic versioning. So if you're looking for views 3, it'd be 7.3 instead of 7.x-3.0. And then the patch version becomes your minor version. That's pretty. Is that pretty straightforward to everybody so far? Like how to convert? It's really. Yeah, thank you. I didn't even think about it. I just tried to be louder and louder. We got people in the crowd that are better at problem solving than me. That's what we ended up proving here. So it's really simple though. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just stick all the numbers together. You got a version. All right, just to kind of give you an idea, let's compare the two. Drush Make and composer.json. Now, who's used which one? Let's say Drush Make, raise your hand. Okay. Composer. Okay. So, for those who didn't raise your hand, do you know what JSON is? Okay, cool. Just making sure. I deal with all sorts of level technology, so I gotta get a good grasp. So, check this out. It's really simple for Composer. You give it a name, you give it a description, and you tell it where you want to pull up your custom, like your code from. Your repositories are all your custom modules, our custom packages in this case, and so on and so forth. And our require is literally our package name. Now notice, for every module you have Drupal / the name of your module. Drupal / Drupal is core. For Drush Make, there's an easy way to kind of convert it. You know, core, you know what core is, you know how to do your core. Now each project you have to define all the way through Git. You can do something very similar here, and I can show you a little bit more into that later. But you can use Git for Drush Make, you can use Git for Composer, you can use SVN for Drush Make, SVN for Composer, you can use HTTP for both. They both can do pretty much everything the other one can. And also, Drush does provide an auto-load strategy for those extensions that you're using. So far they're kind of neck and neck, except for Drush is Drupal specific, and Composer is PHP, the world of PHP. So here's kind of an interesting thing. How many of y'all know about auto-loading? Okay, cool. So auto-loading, for those that don't, is this magical way of including classes at runtime. So for instance, I say I want to include the class pending exception. I've got that hat on the brain, man. You know. By the way, I did give the hat training Tuesday and Thursday. I see a couple of the faces in here. I really appreciate y'all coming. I'd give a shout out to y'all. So auto-loading, I can say the class pending exception, and then all of a sudden the file that I wanted that contains pending exception gets loaded for me. I don't have to go do the magical include or require once statement on my own. And this is a PHP thing. I mean, PHP does this. You can go in and register your own autoloader. But we have a philosophy out there. Anyone here a dry? Don't repeat yourself. Why do something that someone else has already done? Be lazy. So we have the ability to do this with Composer. Composer brings up an autoloader. You specify a little bit of context here, like for Guzzle, they say, okay, I'm using PSR4. Expect everything within the source file, or the source folder in my package, to be in PSR4. How many people know what PSR4 is? Okay, so for those that didn't raise their hand, it's a standard in naming your classes and storing the files in which you put those classes in. It's really simplistic. You name your class, let's say in this case, Guzzle / let's say client. If you named your class that, then you're going to be expected to store it in the folder Guzzle / Guzzle, and the name of the PHP file will be client.php. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so really, really easy. That's all that means. And then it goes in, does your auto loading for, and all you have to do is include our vendor autoload.php file. And in the case of Drupal, we usually do this in our settings.php. It saves one line for every class call. You know, in Drupal, that's a lot of freaking classes, especially Drupal 8. So there's a couple of different ways you can do this. We're kind of getting into like ways of starting up your Drupal 7 site. One way is to use custom installers. There's several different flavors out there if you're used to using Composer. David Barrett has one that's really nice, we recommend, but you don't necessarily have to. If you don't know what custom installers does, it allows you to take a package or package type and put it pretty much wherever you want to. So by default, Composer says, you know all these libraries? They're not really a part of your project, so why put them in your project? Drupal philosophy says we have all these contributed modules, they go in the site's all modules folder, right? Or one of those modules folders. So this is why we would need an installer. It is going to be a part of our project because it has to be in a lower directory of the project. Composer stores them in the vendor directory by default. I'll kind of get into directory structures here in a little bit. Got some nice little visuals for you. So you can either use these guys, which give you, a way to put your libraries into the directories you need for Drupal, or you can use this guy over here, Drupal Tangler. Both of them are, they serve the same purpose, they accomplish the same task, rather. Two very different ways. And I'll kind of go over that, and you can choose which one works for you, which one makes more sense, so on and so forth. Tangler is aptly named, though, and I'll show you here in a little bit. Also, these two are kind of optional. These are ones that will help you out in the future. We have Drupal Libraries Installer plugin. I personally believe that as a package, like as a library maintainer, I would rather have know exactly where someone's putting packages and put them very specifically than to give the person free reign of wherever to put them. My personal belief. Therefore, you have my library installer plugin in case you want to install libraries that's supposed to go into sites all libraries folder, right? There's also Composer Patches plugin. How many of you have had to patch core? Okay, that's a low number. How many of you have never had to patch a module? Okay, in Composer, you can do that too. And just like you can in Drush Make allows you to say, okay, go off to d.o, give me get me that patch, apply it to my module. And this allows you to do something very similar. So, like I said, we can do this. This works, and it's actually not as bad as it seems. Now, we had to go through and create some stuff to make this work, but we got it to go. Now, in part 2, we actually kind of go into what it takes to do the installation part. Now, here's your options. You have Composer Autoload. These are modules, by the way, in case you didn't know. You have Composer Autoload and Composer Manager that will do a lot of the work for you. Myself, I actually use straight up a Composer. I don't have any other manager for it. So if you want to go these routes, just keep in mind that this one searches for all the autoload.php files in every directory and loads them individually. The problem you have there is you on occasion get yourself into a fix where you're loading the same library twice. The Composer Manager module is actually fairly complex. It searches for all the composer.json files in every module and merges them together. So that means that you literally have all of the dependencies of each one of them stuck together. So it has to go through and figure out, has to redo some of Composer's work. But that is an option for you, and those are also community maintained. But there's also Composer Vendor. It loads all of your vendor folder into sites all vendor autoload file. So you've got that, or you can use Drupal Tangler, which technically throws your autoload.php file into your settings.php file for you. So you have to have the, I guess, nerve to let something build onto your settings PHP file. And some people don't like that being messed with, if that makes sense. But both of those use standard straight up Composer. Alright, so we're going to talk a little bit about Tangler. Now this kind of gets a little hairy because I'm going to explain to you how this works so you can make a educated decision on which way you would like to go, given you want to go the Composer route for your Drupal 7 projects. Now, keep in mind, Drupal 8 is right around the corner. They have, what, 13 bugs left? Something like that? So it's really close. They're already using Composer to get all their dependencies. So doing it in Drupal 7 is actually some pretty good practice for those of you who have never done it. So Drupal Tangler does some tangling. And you'll see what I mean here in a minute. So it all starts off with, we have a new top level directory in our project. How many of you build your projects so that you can stick stuff in a level up so that it's not web accessible? Well, I do too, especially whenever you're talking about like a single sign-on with Acquia. You'll want to throw a simple SAML up in the top level directory, or your build scripts, for example, so that those all get sent out with your code. So that's a change you'll have to make. We go ahead and we throw our web root into the htdocs folder. Tangler by default wants you to use www because that was the standard we used at ProMat when we built it. There's a variable in there to change it to whatever the heck you want. So if you say, I want to use htdocs, Acquia fans, if you want to use docroot, you can do that. And this is kind of like just a good description of what your project looks like. You have composer.json and composer.block. Whenever you run composer install, so just a little background, you get a composer.json file, you download your composer, you're ready to start your project. You go type in composer install. It goes out, finds all the dependencies it needs for your composer, for everything in your composer.json, creates a composer lock file so that you can commit that and share your dependencies with everybody else that's working on the project without them having to go out and say, hey, views 3 depends on what, so on and so forth. And that makes it a lot faster for them. So you do that composer install, you give yourself a vendor directory. Vendor directory contains everything that you've downloaded that's a library. So in our case, we're calling our modules libraries. So it downloads them based on your package name. So in our case, views would be Drupal/views. So we have a directory, vendor, Drupal, views. Make sense to everybody so far? Like, this is the way you find your modules. Then Tangler goes and it says, all right, this is a Drupal module type, because this, Packagist can give packages types. In this case, the Drupal module. So let's stick it down in all modules contrib, and let's put a simile. For those who are Windows users, it actually does a copy. So you can use this with Windows. Now, there is a discrepancy there. If you're using a Linux machine that has a shared folder onto a Windows machine, it still thinks it's Linux. So there's a discrepancy there. Does that make sense to everybody? So virtual machines with shared folders, Tangler is probably a no-go for you on a Windows machine. How many Windows developers do we have? Okay. Just a note for the 5% maybe. So now, Tangler also lets us do this. We put a modules folder up there. We stick all of our development in our custom and feature modules folder. So this way, it checks this modules folder, and it comes over here and it says, all right, let's stick everything in that modules folder over here. Just to give you an idea of what your project looks like when you commit it, take everything from htdocs down, add a composer.json, a composer lock to your file. That is your entire project. Make sense? Okay. Know what that gets you? The glory of all code reviews, man. How many of you had tried to code review a pull request and it has all the security updates from 2010? Exactly. GitHub says, hell no. It says, yeah, you got more than 1,000 changes? Yeah. So you have to go through commit by commit by commit. No. This way, you can look at your lock file and you say, okay, this was updated, this was updated, this was updated, this was updated. And then also like all your patches and everything are there. If you've done stuff with Drush Make, you can do a very similar thing too with your build scripts. So check this out. By default, we also do a little bit of settings, compiling. You can take and create a config.yaml or config.yaml disk in this case and send out with your project. There's a little format to this. It's written in YAML, obviously, that lets you say, okay, here's all the settings that need to go into my settings file. Okay, and it's really easy to read. It takes out all those comments and stuff, and it builds it for you with the vendor include in it. So that's something you can have in there. There is a way to keep that from happening. Take your settings.php file that you want to copy in there and stick it in that directory instead. Does that make sense? Because, like, for instance, if you have, let's say, a site that has if statements in there because you're checking to see if it's an Aquia environment, for example, you can't compile that. So you'll need to take your settings file out. Just stick it up here in your CNF folder, and it'll symlink over to that down in your default folder. Make sense? Okay, this is a couple options that you can do with that. And of course, it compiles that. You get this guy. It's also a command line option, so you can do a settings compile on your own build scripts if you want to. Works for distributions. There's a special type out there called the Drupal distribution. We have Drupal modules, Drupal themes, Drupal distributions. Or in this case, I think it actually calls them Drupal profiles. Takes out that type, throws it in the profiles file, folder. Easy to go. So, just to kind of give you an idea, let me see here. Give me 1 second. This is with Composer Vendor. Now, I went through all that to give you an educated decision on whether you want to use Drupal Tangler. Composer Vendor is pretty simple. It takes everything that would be in your vendor folder and it sticks it right here. Make sense to everybody? Did you know that no matter how many folders deep in your modules folder you go, Drupal will still recursively go look through them for all the modules it can find? Well, that's what that's built off of. So that was a simple explanation, wasn't it? Instead of like, oh, we're doing all these symlinks and tangling all this crap up, we just stick the folder over here. Both of them are done really easily. For your custom installers or your composer.vendor, all you have to do is make sure you throw yourself a little config in there of where your vendor directory is going to go, and you're done. There is a little bit that you want to do with your custom installers. Throw yourself in a couple of extra things here to make sure that your contrib modules go in there. So the vendor folder, you can do it one of two ways here. The reason why you can't just use the vendors folder is right here, themes. So Tangler takes care of themes as well, just in case you're wondering. It puts it inside all themes contrib. If you have a themes folder on your top level, just like the module folder was, then it'll symlink those custom themes down too. Just so you know. This is an alternative way to do it. For those who are wondering, these are online, and this version will also be online, recorded as well, if I remember to save. And who was it that gave me that advice? Was it you? Yeah. I need everyone, make sure you remind me to hit the save button at the end of this presentation. Because otherwise we won't have the recording. So it's pretty simple. So this is pretty much everything you need to know for profiles as well. So Drupal profiles, you add that to your extra in your composer.json file. You get yourself a place for your profiles. Downloading modules. So we do in Drush download whatever. We get all of our dependencies, we're good to go. Composer, we do a composer require, which you can, by the way, you can use command line to do this, composer require, or you can go manually edit your JSON file, whichever one makes you feel froggy. And then you do a composer update. Well, actually, you don't have to do composer update with composer require. If you manually update your file, composer update, and then it downloads it and all its dependencies. All right. So y'all may be asking me, okay, well, I have this custom module that's put over on GitHub because it's on like 5 different projects. What do I do then? Do I have to save it into all of my projects? No. You don't have to put in that custom folder I was telling you about earlier. Simply add a repository, very much like this. Make sure that you have your tags in there that by version number, and then, or for that matter, just use dev master. I don't know how many of y'all version your custom code, but this is an easy way. Dev dash branch name in Composer, so you can get any branch you want to. So if you called your branch fudge, it'd be dev dash fudge. A lot of that is up there on getcomposer.org, by the way, documentation for that. Now let's talk about patches. This is the same in both of them. Require yourself a little thing called Net Research Composer Patches plugin. I haven't had to say that out loud in a long time. This is a long one. And an easy way to do it just throw into your project some extra. We know you put all your metadata in extra. This is where extensions get their data from, it's extra data. Throw into your patches, what's a property, and tell it what package you want to patch and what version you want to patch. So if I was to download feature 7.2.2, I would get this patch applied to my package. Does that make sense to everybody? It automatically does that at the end of your Composer install. Not only that, it caches this. So if you have to go and reinstall this again with all the same patches, like say you switched to one branch that didn't have a patch and another branch that did have a patch, it had a cache, so it's an easy, really fast change between the two. You don't have to go through and worry about all that. All right, so you want to use a composer library from a module. You literally, all you have to do, composer.json, and require the library from your module. There is no step 2. Require your library. Use it in your module. That's it. So let's say I want Guzzle, okay? If I was sending this out to the public for masses to use, I would have to actually check for the class and say, okay, did they download Guzzle? All right, let's use it. In this case, if you're doing it for yourself, and you know this project's always going to have Composer installed, literally put it in your composer.json, use it in your module. That settings.php line we added with Tangler will do all the auto-loading for you. No more going, well, include this library and check to see if it's in cites all libraries. If it's not there, check to see if it, yeah, you get what I'm going at. All right, Drush commands. Now how many of you write Drush extensions? Okay, cool. We got a couple of y'all. So you can use Composer in your Drush extension. All you have to do, required library to do a Drush auto load on the file from your module. Now, file is the, everybody here know what __ file _ is? Magical constants, macros. Okay. This is always the exact path to the file you wrote this line in. So if I was in var mystuff.php, this would be the string var mystuff.php. You send that to Drush, Drush knows what to do with it. Alright, using Drush, Drush PM update. We've all done that a time or two. For Composer update. And to make sure that you do your update DB afterwards. Okay, here's your sign, is all I'm saying, to this line down here at the bottom. Make a backup first, please. I am no way responsible for you crashing your site whenever you don't back up your database and or your code.
That's not what I'm telling the client.
Disclaimer. Part 3. Let's manage your project. Alright, I'm going to go through this really quick because apparently I yammer on and on and on, and it's already 45 after. Alright, just to let you know, I told you about this earlier. Check in your composer.json, your composer.log, put in your get ignore, everything in htdocs. Make sense? Because you're downloading core and everything else into your vendor folder. Also, ignore your vendor folder. Don't check that in, otherwise you're not gaining yourself anything. Same thing with Composer vendor. Just to give you a little bit of idea, you want to avoid committing anything over here, like contrib and your vendor. These two you want to put in your get ignore. Couple of strategies, because there are hosting systems out there who do not allow you to do builds and add new files to your directory structure. Not naming any names, just say. Alright, so do an install, you get your entire directory from htdocs down. You can clone that, first you clone that to get, do an install. You can do this on your same server, like we do this on our dev. Similarly, if you want to use rsync, you can do that too. Clone, install rsync to your machine. This is a way to do it, like, for instance, if you use Jenkins, deploy it to a dev server, rsync it to your prod server. Now you know how to build on your prod server. That's the different philosophies. Another way, two repository method. I hate this one. I really do. Clone, install, rsync, commit, clone, and pull. Just to make sure that, you have, if you want to come back down, this is the hard part, coming from here to there. Like if you have like more than one person or company working on the same project, getting from there back to here is hard. It is very hard. Converting an existing site. Oh, we made this easy for you. How many of y'all were really thinking, oh man, I'd have to go through there and find out what all my modules were and then write my composer.json and be like, oh. Now, the composer generate. It's like composer, like Drush Make generate. It does choke on custom code a little bit. It'll ask you to fill in the stuff there. All right, and let's see. Easy way to create your project. Composer create project. Drupal composer, Drupal project, and then you tell it the directory and so on and so forth. Then you do a Drush site install, and that's with using Drupal composer Drupal project. This is on Packagist.org. Drupal 7 framework. This is the one we use on Chrome at source. Simply do composer create project, Chrome at Drupal 7 framework project name, whatever you want to call it. Vagrant up. You have an entire machine. If you want some more information, not that what I gave you was enough, but it was that verbal format, Texas accent, whatever might not translated real well. Check out getcomposer.org, drupalcomposer.org, your groups, drupal.org composer, or over here at GitHub, or tweet all of us. You can spam us with pretty kitties or whatever else. And we'll do our best to get back to you with any of the questions that you may have. All three of us are pretty much spurring this initiative. We would really like for y'all to try to start using it so that you're ready for Drupal 8 whenever it comes out, so you can use Composer there. It's a little bit after. Do I have time for questions?
Be quick.
Okay. Let's say
Let's
2. Yes. Let's say 2 minutes. Anybody got questions? Go for it.
So, naming convention for Drupal releases, especially non-GA releases, is sort of awkward. How do you handle non-version number releases for Drupal?
You can hit the you can use the -dev. So named ones are actually aliased. If you're talking about alpha or beta or any of that nature, RCs, you can add dash alpha number or beta number or RC number to the end of your version number. So let's say 7.1.0-beta1. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And that'll take care of that.
And any particular dev branch
dev-7.x-7.or1.x. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So it's the name of the branch, right? Dev-name of branch.
And you can also do it by hash.
You can do it by hash. You add a hash pound to the ends of your branch name. Put your commit hash. Make sense? That's all on Composer. On composer.org's documentation. So check that out.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
So someone tells like the module this we have to include this repository for that? Because
Yeah.
that stuff is not available at Packagist, right?
Correct. And there's actually a different URL to that now too. We
Okay.
have it is now Drupal-composer.org.
That one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for being patient with me.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, put so much energy into it, all the slides and everything. It's like, God.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Thank you for telling me to hit save.